This is a warning, brother. The sound that is about to play will contain graphic and foul language, yeah, but is intended to be entertaining, at least to some. Oh, yeah. If you are easily offended, yeah, don't have a sense of humor, yeah, or have your head up your ass, oh, yeah, this isn't for you. Everyone else, please try to have fun. And as always, the cream rises to the top and stay creative.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the STS podcast. STS stands for Shooting the Shit. I'm Bryan SilverBax. Today I got Andrew with me. We're going to talk comic books. We're going to talk filming. This episode is brought to you by Capone Streams. You guys stick around. What's up, Andrew?
Hey man, how's it going?
Not too bad.
Nice to finally speak.
You are on the other side of the planet.
Yes, I'm on a big time difference. It's God, I think we're about 8 hours ahead of you guys at the minute.
Now, how do you find yourself way over there?
Everyone in my family works for an airline, pretty much. So my dad basically came over to Dubai in the late 80s, early 90s, I can't remember, with the airline here, and we all followed him over. I went to school out here, and
it doesn't sound like you have a Dubai accent.
No, there's no such thing, really. It's one of those towns. It's so like multicultural.
Really?
There's hundreds of different national. Yeah, it's the most. You know, you use that term melting pot, but there's you could go weeks and meet someone from a different country. You know, not come into contact with someone from the same country twice. Is it just everyone here?
Is the English the language there, or what is the most prominent language?
The national language is Arabic, like Gulf Arabic.
Okay.
And it's an Arabic country. It's an Islamic country, but it's very westernized. Everyone speaks English to the point where, you know, I learned Arabic in school and I can't speak it because it just gets to the point where you try and use it in normal conversation. They go, "It's fine. I speak English. Don't worry."
They're like, just give it up.
Yeah, it's just not worth the hassle.
So at what school grade did you go over there?
So it's they've got, you know, American system and as well, but I'm obviously English, so we did the English system. So I came over in primary school.
All right,
that's
like middle school, right?
Call that
5th or 6th grade.
Is that elementary? I don't even know. Basically, I would have been 8.
All right, so that's right at the end of like elementary school. Oh, I have to apologize right now. It is Friday here, and everybody in my house is off, including my grandchild. So my grandchild's going to be screaming in the background, and then there's going to be his mom.
That's fine. I just put my boy to sleep. So
these guys just got up.
Oh, God.
So we might hear some screaming in the background, or we might hear some ladies telling him to be quiet. But that's just par for the course. My dog's
shouting at someone as well.
That's what you call it? Your dogs are shouting. They're not barking, being annoying assholes.
We've got a Chihuahua.
I do too.
Just, you know, little angry thing. Oh,
what a
waste!
waste!
What that's like.
What a waste of a dog.
Exactly. Yeah.
Golly.
So she just sit in the window, and every time another proper dog walks past, she'll bark.
Another proper dog, another squirrel, another house, another person, anything.
Anything. She'll start a fight with anything.
I know, it's crazy. I don't like it. All right, so you have a couple of comic book IPs that you're in charge of, correct?
Yeah, so I've got a couple of things that I'm working on that are sort of in production. The one that people know and have read is called Star Bastard. It's the sci-fi action comedy book. And then I've got a superhero book, which is on Kickstarter. It's got about a week to go, called Bete Noir, which is, it's more traditional, capes and, angry guys punching each other and brooding on top of rooftops. And then I've got another book called Child of the Machine, which I'm working on slowly because it sort of went from a single issue, issue by issue project to something that I think just needed to be done as an all-in-one. So obviously that's more cost, so it's just taking a longer time, and it'll come out as a graphic novel, format instead of a single issue thing.
Now, you are a self-publisher?
So I go the Kickstarter route. The current one I have is just the second time I've launched a series.
Okay.
The first one I did was Starbuster. I did that in 2016 for issue 1, and then 2017 I did issue 2. And then it got picked up by Scout. So it moved from, crowdfunded to the traditional publishing.
To fully funded.
Yeah, so now that is something I have to bankroll myself.
So that means, the crowdfunding, that's how you paid for your artist and your colorist and everything to do the first 2 issues?
Yeah, so basically it's just, Kickstarter essentially is just a pre-order system that lets you get that minimum order thing. And it's a nice way to breathe easily at night, knowing that everything's paid for.
So then when Scout picks it up for, at the 3rd installment, how do you, without the crowdfunding, how do you pay for the artwork and the colors and stuff for the issues that haven't been kickstarted?
Well, it's a combination of, paying some of it ahead of time, and then luckily, back-end royalty agreements with art team. So it's all based on sales now.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, and I can make this clear for everybody, Scout is not, they didn't cut you a check so that you could complete the project. They just said, if the project is complete, we will distribute it for you and give you a percentage of the sales and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that was how it worked, that someone said, here's the cash. And I'm sure there are instances where people will do that. I'm sure different publishers have different methods, but it's the sort of standard format of, you give us the stuff, we'll put it out there, and then, you get X cut, we get X cut.
And then we'll see what happens after that, like whether or not he gets picked up for a TV show or a series, or someone wants to turn it into a movie, or someone just wants to buy the rights to it.
I think that's really the game, isn't it? Because comics are such a low margin, really. You're lucky if you get to 0 after production costs and everything. If you do really well, you can leave on zero out of your pocket. And I think the money these days, and that's where everyone's aiming, isn't it, to get a TV show or some sort of
IP residuals or some. They're throwing all these comic book ideas out there, just hoping to land something that a huge financially wealthy company will want to pick up and put money into.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's sort of a golden age of TV, isn't it? At the minute, everyone wants to have their own content. I mean, and Marvel's films have done fantastically, and that's got comics sort of a bit more mainstream, I think. But
yeah,
the real crux of the situation is that, like, Netflix is producing all their own content, and that's how they're driving people to their service. And then you've got, Amazon or Hulu, or, I think there's a new Warner Brothers HBO one, and there's going to be the Disney one. And the only way you're going to get people to pay all those subscriptions is if they've got exclusive content. So everyone's going to be buying up all of the IP they can to make sure they've got, stuff they can produce as exclusive content.
It's funny.
Which is good. If you've got a big catalog you can sell, then happy days.
Yeah, well, that's where our IP comes in. We're hoping that one of these guys thinks that we've got the next big thing, and they want to buy our IP to put on their exclusive channel.
Yeah,
I think it's funny.
The dream.
The Dish Network and Time Warner, like all the cable companies, are about to be shitting their pants.
Well, yeah, but it's just the evolution of things, isn't it? I'm sure in that industry they probably had an opportunity to get on board early, and I'm guessing they didn't. If they're in a position where they're going to be, extinct, that's just the name of the game, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that I don't know enough about corporate shit, but like I'm sure that Comcast owns like Warner Brothers or something. Like it's a parent company. Like it's going to have rights to somebody's streaming service, and so all these cable companies should be okay, but they're still only going to have access to whatever their parent company allows them to have, and they still can't have it all.
Well, yeah, and it depends. I don't think you're going to see everyone leaving TV anytime soon. Purely for online services. I mean, I haven't had normal TV because here TV is all satellite, right? You sign up to satellite TV packages and you get all the Western stuff and all that kind of stuff. I haven't had any of that for probably the last 10 years. Like, we just would either, go to the cinema, or we'd watch, stream stuff, or, Netflix, things like that.
Yeah.
But there is a huge market still for people that watch stuff the old-fashioned way, just on TV. So
all right.
They still have that. I mean, in the UK, you have Sky TV, and that's, it's all on demand, but they still have their traditional, scheduled programming that goes out as well.
Now, before we
I
start,
think it's probably going to be a long time.
Yeah, well, to circle back, we're all just trying to create something new, and this is the age of create your own IP. There's many avenues to get it out there. It may or may not hit, but there's such a demand for new content that doesn't have a $1 billion price tag to it. The Marvel and the DC stuff totes a heavy price tag, but Star Bastard, on the other hand, is probably rather affordable in the eyes of Hollywood.
I'll make someone a good deal if someone wants to buy it.
So I just think it's the golden time to try to, whether it's with Scout or Aftershock or Image or another small publisher of any kind, like, get your stuff out there and get off your ass and get it done. And then, because no one's going to pick it up on just the idea alone, I don't believe. Not when they can go.
Unless you have an amazing idea, like, you might have one of those things where it's just, you describe it in a sentence and someone can see it.
Yeah, I imagine though, but we live in a very visual world with Instagram and social media. So if they were to have the idea that you just gave them versus, a series of floppy comics that they were just handed, if they can put they don't have to even use their imagination when they're holding the floppies. So I'm saying get your shit out there so people can see it, and that's the only way that you stand a chance.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at people. There are certain comics out there that you can tell are produced with an eye to film. Like, not necessarily this is just going to be a comic, and if it never gets made, whatever. Like, you look at a lot of the stuff Mark Miller does, and it's always sort of relative. His career and stuff, it's all relatively short stuff, and it's almost like it's just a packaged pitch document that he can sell to Hollywood, and it always gets made, doesn't it? Like, all of his stuff gets optioned. Obviously, Netflix and bought it.
But part of that
is a perfect pitch format.
Part of that is, though, the body of work that he's created for himself gives him that. That power. Us new guys that don't have anything under our belt can't command that. Hey, here's my idea. I can make it happen. No one's going to believe us.
Oh, no. Obviously, he's got years of experience behind him that's given him the platform to produce that work. But that work is a perfect example of how a comic can be sold into.
Yes.
It's a perfect pitch document. You don't even need necessarily the supporting documents. It's just, that's the story. You can see what the characters look like. You can see what the art direction could be. You can see the pacings in there, all that kind of stuff. And you can read it and already have seen the film almost.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing format for that.
All right. So,
and I mean, that's where Scout are particularly good. Like, they have great connections in the film and TV industry, and they've got a good history of getting their books in front of the right people. So that's one of the main reasons I was so interested in being involved with them.
They also have the eye for what they feel could cross over mediums. Like, not only is this a good comic book, they're picking stuff that they're going to publish that I believe every title they publish, they're thinking, I could see this as a widely accepted movie or television show of some kind. Yeah,
because among the guys that make up the what do you call them, the head office team, they've got a big history in that market. Either selling stuff to the rights to other products and or actually producing film and TV themselves. So it's a great dynamic in that company to get those books in front of the right people. Hopefully, that's happening at San Diego as we speak.
Yes, this is San Diego Comic-Con weekend, and they've got their pitch document where they got this like hardbound book of here's all the stuff we own, and here's the elevator pitch, here's the full log line, and here's some sample art.
Yeah, and it's getting ever larger, isn't it? They seem to sign a new amazing book every month. So that catalogue of work is going to be quite attractive, I think.
And part of the way they're doing what they're doing is they are finding projects on Kickstarter that raise an eyebrow, and then they contact the person and say, I think this is how it works. I don't have any super duper inside information, but they find a Kickstarter that has a great idea or premise behind it. And then they say, hey, after this Kickstarter's done, we can talk. I'd like to talk to you about putting that book on our catalog. And I think they shop through Kickstarter.
It's a great platform really for that kind of thing, because you think this is a book with no existing audience. It goes on, and if that sells to 500 people, 1,000 people cold, that's a good indicator of how it's going to work. In a traditional market, that you can multiply that by X amount probably, and so it's a great way to sort of scout for new stuff that other people aren't looking at. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. My experience, I actually randomly met James. How do you say his second name?
Hike. I think it's hike. Like you're taking a hike down the street.
I bumped into him. We went. Because my parents live in Florida. Me and my wife visited a few years back and made a day trip down, 48 hours down to Miami for Florida SuperCon. I think it was
okay,
cool.
Yeah.
And just walking around, and as any guy who's got their own book, I took a little stack of them to hand out to creators. Keith Giffen was there, and there's a clear Lobo influence in my book, so I was like,
"Oh, I get to meet him at DragonCon this year."
He is he's an interesting character. He's great. If you got time, you can have a conversation. He's great.
I hope to.
I got my Lobo sketch from him, so that's that tick. That box is ticked. I've got that, and I've got the Bisley one, and I'm happy.
Oh wow! Those are two people I would love to have a sketch cover from.
Yeah, I got the Bisley one. I backed a Kickstarter, and I got a Lobo, and then I got a bigger Lobo on the resale market, but then he came to the Dubai Comic-Con in April, just gone.
Oh my gosh, how come you didn't tell me?
Meet Simon Bisley. Yeah, he was just there, and it was, I came in, local connections. I got in early while he was still setting up, and I just sat there, and he did me a Judge Dredd, like there and then, and it was just, that's my Mount Rushmore of artists, one of those TikToks.
Well, if you see him again, I need a Lobo sketch cover. I don't care. It could be on a Marvel comic book. I just want a Lobo sketch cover from that dude. And it could be like the regular old Sharpie quick, the ones that they give out for like $10. Like, here, I'll take that.
I'll send you what I've got. Maybe I can find one among my collection that can go your way.
Because when I do these conventions is I get my friends and people that I run across I ask them for a Lobo sketch cover, like in trade. I'm like, will you sketch a Lobo on this blank cover? And then I'll do a character of your choosing, and then like an artist trade. So neither one of us have to come out of pocket. So I
saw that great one. You got the metal shark one.
I got that one this weekend. Paul Maitland, he's switched over to painting now. So most of his stuff is paintings. Right. But he was not getting a whole lot of business over the weekend, and I was like, hey, well, if you want to kill some time at your booth, how about this Metal Shark Bro cover? How about this cover for a Lobo? And he said, sure, mate, because he's got an accent as well. And he was like, dude, I threw in the Metal Shark Bro fin because, that's the wave I'm riding at the moment. So he was like, here, let's put that on there. I thought it'd be funny. And then the Metal Shark Bro guys loved it.
Yeah, man. Do you know what? That's the best bit of marketing advice I've got for people if they're doing conventions. And if you're self-publishing anyway, and you've got the option to do whatever you want. Like when I kickstarted Starbastard, I did blank sketch covers because I love getting those, regular sketch covers at cons and stuff. So I got these sketch covers done, and they're really great quality. It's a company in Chicago, I think, does it. But I always take a stack of those with me, and rather than getting everything, a Lobo or getting a Batman or whatever, I give these big name artists one of my blanks, and they draw Starbastard characters on it. And then that's a cool thing you can share on social media. It gives you a little bit of sort of accidental street cred.
Yeah, I don't have a Starbastard yet. So Lobo is the character I most identify with. So I'm collecting.
I'll send you a stack, man. Don't worry.
I'm collecting my Lobos. Well, I didn't mean like I don't have a Starbastard blank. I mean I don't have an IP guy that I can say, hey, please draw my guy, because I was doing that for a while. I was like, oh, look through my year zero catalog, but people are like, I don't know who these. It's one day we'll get there.
Some of them they don't. Some people look at it and go, have you got anything else? And you revert back to Spider-Man or stuff like that. But usually, the name, I usually get a snigger out of the name, and they flick through, and I get a couple of laughs. And
yeah, I do like the name. I think the name has a lot to do with it, because, like I said, this past weekend I was at Atlanta Comic-Con, and I have one of those comic book metal racks that you can have like 4 wide, and it's like 5 levels tall. Well, the first bottom level was all Metal Shark Bro, and people would walk by and just read the title and start snickering at the title of Metal Shark Bro, and be like, dude, what is this? Like, it looks like, and so it would start a conversation. Whatever I pitched to them, like I was like, I didn't write it, I didn't do anything. It's just I did the cover, which starts to sound like I'm downplaying my abilities. But I was like, they're like, what is Metal Shark Bro? And I'm like, well, shit, I'm just a cover artist, like the cover. But they were more into what the title meant. So I can see Starbastard having a very similar effect. Like if I were to have a bottom row of Starbastards, that people would walk by and be like, Starbastard, what the hell is this? Tell me more about Starbastard.
That's generally what happens. I just did in May, towards the end of May, I did the MCM in London, which is like quite a big, one of their biggest conventions they do in London. And I got the banner there, it says Starbastard across the top, because, that's my book. So like, my name really isn't going to draw anyone in, and, unless you're a bigger name. So I stick that over the top of the banner, and I was just joking, like if I had £1 for everyone that laughed at that name, I would have been rich by the end of the convention. But luckily it's that thing of they laugh, so that gives you a way to, get their attention, bring them in, try and talk to them, and convert it into a sale and get them interested in everything else. So.
I like it. But speaking of Starbastard, the series is coming to an end, if I'm not mistaken.
So I just... it'll carry on. It's like anything, isn't it? These things, they cost money to produce, and you need to maintain sales, and sales is the hardest part of independent comics. So we're doing quite well, really. Like we did really well on issue 1, then you get the 50% drop off and everything. But it's keeping it as close to profitable as you can get it. So we'll do it as a collector trade, and then there's more of it written. So it's just a case of judging how much interest there is there, and I'll definitely do it. It's just how much of a gap there needs to be to get the work done.
Okay, well then let me rephrase my question. Like this first storyline it's a finite story, right? There's an end to this storyline.
There's story, in inverted commas, because story is not really the strong point of this particular comic. Like it's not a complex, complex art. There's 6 issues of fart jokes that are loosely connected by a series of events that will culminate somehow in issue 6. But it will set you up. Like I think one of the things I do well, of the few things I do well, is that I tend to do good cliffhangers at the end of each issue.
Okay.
So the cliffhanger at the end of 6 will I've sort of mentioned it to you briefly, I know, but no one else will know what it is. But
okay.
It'll set it up for a potential second arc.
Yeah, and what's cool about a good cliffhanger is it gives you the resolution of what you've been following for such a long time, and then just basically teases you with just the tip to let you know, hey, there's more down the road if you guys are down.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of, like, one of the big things that comics does that not many other things can do as well, if at all, is the page reveal. You know, you've got every even page, you know, you don't see that until you turn the page. Whereas, you know, you're looking at the page you've got open, you can see it out of the corner of your eye. There's no surprises, but getting that page turn surprise twist down, is something that I think
so. Like
you only really get in comics.
On the odd page, you've got the silhouette, you know, with the one word bubble that says, "Have you been looking for me?" And you're like, "Oh shit, who is it?" And then you turn the page, and you're like, "Oh no, it's that guy.
It's the giant space dinosaur."
Yeah,
that's exactly it.
That's hilarious. So Star Bastard is not the only iron you currently have in the fire. You mentioned something about a Kickstarter.
Yeah, so we've got a Kickstarter going for Bete Noir, which is weirdly enough, it's the first comic I started writing. You know, everyone's got their superhero book they want to mess about with. So I started writing one, but I approached it thinking, as a lot of people do, you approach it thinking you're Alan Moore, or, you know, Grant Morrison, one of these masters of the art that can, you know, guarantee a 50-issue run or a 100-issue run. You can do all these crazy arcs and twists and turns and character development. And I got, you know, 4 or 5 issues into it, and I was just so bored of trying to be clever that I took a break, and that's where Star Bastard came in, just as a joke. It was almost written on a napkin, and the artist I was talking to sort of went, "I'll do that one instead," because they probably were being approached with all the same, you know, the same superhero stories and things like that. But basically that was Bete Noir, and I put that on the back burner, and then this chap Matt Hardy, who's a writer and a publisher in the UK on the indie scene. He has a company called Mad Robot Comics. I became friends with him because he backed my Kickstarter, and, you know, just back and forth chatting. He looked over the scripts, and he's a very good editor, and he's very good at being quite ruthless with the content.
Okay.
So he cut back everything, and we just reframed this superhero book into a short sort of revenge story, which is what it is in its current form. So we're funding that right now. It's almost there. We got amazing pinup art from various artists, including yourself.
I do what I can.
In case you didn't know,
is this story, the Bete Noir story? Is this like one self-contained? Like, it's not just issue 1 of something. It is. I'm getting the whole story. It
is issue 1. It's issue 1 of, instead of it being 100 issues, which would have never happened, this is now a 5-issue sort of volume, which again will be self-contained, but could, you know, if there's interest, it could then be expanded on. But it's kind of I now, if I'm going to write anything, I write it for 4 or 5 issues maximum, because it's much easier to sort of pitch those things successfully to publishers.
That is exactly what I've been told by some publishers that I know, is that it's all like, make digestible chunks, because it's easier to sell digestible chunks to comic book collectors. There's a reason. Yeah. There's a reason behind Solar Flare, which is a title, right, that comes out every year, and it's called Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, and that's so that each season can have a number 1 issue, because comic collectors are wanting the number 1s, and you know,
twice as many.
Yeah, so now they can every year they get 6 issues of Solar Flare, and they're guaranteed a number 1 in the event that, like, when it gets picked up for a show, that this is the season of the comic book that's actually being produced into the movie. I could be like, I got the number 1 for that season, you know. So it increases the collectability of the title by making small digestible chunks, which is what I've been told. Because originally my thing was, when I'm doing year 0, right, I'm still working on it. Yes, I know I'm working on it. But so my idea was to make year 0 like a, you know, I'm going to make 300 issues, and then within this 300 issues, there's going to be small digestible storylines that take place 4 issues, 3 issues, 5 issues. But it's just, So what that has now evolved into is I'm just going to tell one story inside of year 0, have it be issue 1 through 5. And then the next time I feel like writing a story that takes place in year 0, it'll be year 0, Call of the Mothman. And then that will be issue 1 through 5. And then the next one will be year 0 presents, the rock monster comes back. And then that'll be issue 1 through 5. So stuff like that.
I think it's the important thing is like everyone's got their big high concept thing, right? And if part of that is you're not going to understand this until you get to issue 100 or even issue 15 or 20, that impacts the enjoyment of the book, especially from casual readers. So I think the publishers really want to know that they're going to get all of the cool stuff in the first thing, and then that can be expanded on later. Not, you're going to just sort of hold out and potentially never see it, which really impacts the viability of, if you only get 3 issues out and they're useless because you didn't get to issue 12. I just think that, that's why they're going to avoid those projects like the Plague.
Well, let me ask you a question about the Kickstarter stuff. I'm not super familiar with Kickstarter, but I've seen a number of Kickstarters that raise gajillions of dollars, and I'm like, holy shit. But I mean, those guys have honestly put in a lot of years of work and have a lot of following and stuff like that. But people on your level and even down further onto my level, it's tough for us to get people to see our shit. Now, when you set your goal, let's say your goal is $4,000 for your first issue of Comic Book X. Do you keep, like, it's always a gamble using Kickstarter, because if it doesn't get funded, you lose the money that people had pledged to you. So do you, as a creator, do you keep like that $4,000 or $1,000 in your bank account so that if it doesn't quite make it, that you can go ahead and just shoot that in yourself to make sure that it gets funded?
Do you mean like if in the sense that you don't raise quite enough and you just need to top it up to make sure you hit your target?
Exactly. Like, so it's the last day of your Kickstarter and you're $600 shy. Do you have the money to kick in that $600, or do you just let it flop out?
So with Kickstarter, technically you're not supposed to fund your own thing, right? And it's down to I don't think people do it. I mean, I've never known anyone to do that to get it over the gate, but Kickstarter is all or nothing. Like, if you don't get there, you lose everything, right? And then there's other platforms which are not so great, where you set your target. If you make half, people still get their cards charged, but potentially that project never happens because you didn't get enough money, so you never produce that project. So I'm not keen on those other platforms. But with Kickstarter, I think the key is not to be overzealous with your goal. As long as you're fair and you set something that you think you can hit, because especially a first-time creator, it's not going to get $10,000 for their single issue floppy comic.
But do you, Andrew, keep like for this Bete Noir, it comes down to it, and you're going to be $300 shy. Are you putting in your own $300, or do you let the project fail through Kickstarter?
I would probably just really lean on people and ask them really nicely to spend their money and promise to buy them some beers, down the road or something. But I've had one project. I did Starbastard 1 and I did Starbastard 2. This is a new thing. It's still ongoing. But with Starbastard 1, everything was produced. Like, the book was done. But because of being where I am, I had no way to market that book to the rest of the world. So I couldn't. The postal system here it would cost, an ungodly amount of money to send a single issue anywhere. So I would never be able to sell a comic. So I put it on Kickstarter with a really low goal and just used it like a pre-order system or an order system. So all the money gets collected. They take a cut. I get the things. I do all the books at once when I travel back to the UK. That's how I worked it. Then issue 2, I set it higher, thinking, I'm there now. I can charge whatever I like. And it didn't fund. So when it got closer to the goal, I cancelled the project and I relaunched it with a much lower goal, which was exactly what I needed to finish the artwork, print it, and get it to backers. And I overfunded with that one. I made more on the lower target than I did on the one that never reached target.
Now,
so it's a weird sort of mechanic there, I think.
It is, and I haven't figured it out because I in one instance, I want to set a Kickstarter goal that's lower to simply cover the cost. Like, let's say I've already paid for it out of pocket or whatever it is. I've set my goal low so that I know that I can reach the goal. But some people, I believe, look at Kickstarter goals and say, oh, this goal isn't he doesn't have big aspirations. So they're looking for a Kickstarter that has this much larger number.
Perhaps, yeah.
It's such a game, and I don't know how to play it right.
There are great resources. Like there's a group called Comics Launch. It's a podcast that you can listen to, and it's run by a guy called Tyler James, who's had loads of success.
Okay.
And there's so much in terms of resources. Just the free information he puts out. There's so many people that have successfully kickstarted or failed and done it again. Just a huge amount of resources out there to learn from. But from my experience, the best thing to do is just to put it out there. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you can start again, try again. When I'm backing projects, I go. Sometimes it's so good that I just will back it straight away. Sometimes I'll look for things that are finishing soon and need that extra push.
Okay.
And you work that way because it's a weird dynamic. Sometimes the projects get stagnant and it takes a few backers, even if they're just at a low pledge level, just to get things moving again. So sometimes those projects towards the end just need a little boost.
All right. Is there anything that the Bete Noir? Can you tell me anything about elevator pitch me on how cool the story is for Bete Noir?
So basically, it's a sort of. We got a lot of criticism about the name because it's obviously a French term, and we've admitted the extra E's and the accents and things, but we've spelled it the way it is because it's essentially a crime noir superhero story.
Okay.
It's a guy coming back from the dead to avenge a wrong that has occurred, while he's been away. So this is it's set in a world where there are no more superheroes or supervillains. Something's happened that's pushed them into the shadows. They're too frightened to operate. And this character, who's like the most feared sort of street level vigilante that's supposedly dead, he comes back to punish everyone left, right, and center, heroes, villains.
So it's not supernatural. Like he really wasn't dead.
Well, you get into it as the story goes along, but
okay,
it's kind of is he or isn't he? Is he even the same person? What's happened to him? So it's something, and that's really something we changed. Like I was explaining, you've got these twists 100 issues down. We rewrote issue 1 to really sell what was going to happen in like issue 10.
Okay, so a lot of forethought went into it.
Yeah, it's all been condensed down to a real, instead of it being a big complicated thing, it's a guy coming back, no nonsense, kicking ass, taking names, and just getting revenge for everything that's gone wrong in the past. And he's wearing a cape and he's got his pants on the outside and things like that.
I did notice when I looked at the Kickstarter for this, you have given away quite a few pages on the Kickstarter. Like that, I was noticing that's a healthy portion of story that you are putting up there, sir.
Well, it's kind of, you've always got to produce an amount of work to prove that you're going to get it done and to prove what the quality of the work's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the way that issue's written, it kind of you need a little sort of mini resolution almost. So the preview that's up there is the length it is to just sort of, there's a little bait and switch and a little mini resolution towards the end there. And it's just a nice way to show how the story's going to feel as a full issue, and to show as much artwork as we've got.
And also, as part of the Kickstarter, I saw that some of the reward tiers include some Star Bastard specific, like rare items and such.
Yeah, well, there's stuff I've got. It's like I've got pages of artwork, and again, that book's done really well since it's been with Scout, but it's done well, in an American market, which is thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
So there are people there's no one in America, unless they backed my Kickstarters, there's no one with signed copies of those books. And there's no one with signed copies of the Scout ones, because, they get sent to me here, and, they don't have signed copies at Scout or anything. So it's a way for people. I was getting people contact me from, all over the States, asking if they could buy the old self-published versions, or can I send them signed Scout versions and stuff. And it's a way to sort of add a little bit of a value to people that might like that thing. They are only in the high end tiers, so it's not like you can just pick up the single issue of Starbastard 1 or anything.
The Star Bastard tiers in the Kickstarter are like full on bundles. It's not like you get one thing of Star Bastard and the Bete Noir. You're getting the full Bete Noir,
weirdly enough,
and a huge amount of Star Bastard.
Yeah, so there's the original art pages. I've got the Scout issue 1s that are signed. We've got some of the blanks that I mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got those, but the art option is me drawing on it. So you get art of the level of a writer. So I can't guarantee how good that'll be. I always wanted to be an artist, but I think that's quite a common thing. You realize at some point that there are people out there better suited to doing it. So you decide to focus on the writing, and that's what I've done. But I still enjoy it. So some people have gone for it. So we'll see how many sketches I have to do at the end of the campaign. But we've got like a one of a kind action figure that we had done. The guy who did.
I did see that, dude. That is so badass.
Yeah, that's the same guy who does the action figures for the Starbastard Scout web store exclusives.
So those were actual figures?
Yeah, so he does one-offs for them. They're like hacked together. You get a bunch of figures and you kit bash them together, and he molds over with clay and stuff, paints them up, and so they all exist.
Oh, I was under the impression that those were just. Oh, my phone is ringing, but I'm going to silence it. It's probably a bill collector. I thought those covers were all just like, digital Photoshop paintings. I did not know that they were real, legitimate, G.I. Joe size, like real figures that you own.
Yeah, they're basically like Marvel Legends size. Marvel Legends.
Okay, so they're about what, 6 inches tall?
Yeah, they're like 1/12 scale.
All right.
So,
how much does one of those run you?
It depends. It's kind of, because it's obviously you've got to find the correct parts. So like the issue 1 of Max, which is technically, once you've read the book, you realize it's a life-size action figure, because that's how big he is. That was made from like a Han Solo figure and a Winter Soldier figure and a Mr. Freeze head, all these parts. So it depends what those parts are going for on this, second-hand action figure market, but on average about 40 quid. So I guess, what's the current exchange rate?
I don't know what a quid is.
A pound sterling, sir. So about $50.
Oh wow, that's very, very, very reasonable for anyone that's out there trying to create their own IP and actually have like a physical thing to put on their convention table.
Yeah, I've passed on a lot of other creators. I've sort of sent this chap. His name's Michael.
That's pretty badass.
He's in Wales. But if anyone goes to my Instagram, there's the figures are there, and I've tagged him in them. So anyone's interested, you could go on and find that information. I'm sure he'd be happy to do the same for anyone else out there.
Now, is he local to you, or is he in the United States, or where is this guy?
No, he's in the UK. He's in Wales.
Okay.
So everyone is all over the place. All the stuff I do, like, there's no one in Dubai. Everyone else is around the world.
Now, you said that you don't get to Florida very often, and no one really has signed copies of Star Bastard. Is there anything down the road that maybe that'll change? Like, do you have anything set up? Yeah.
So we're coming out. Like I said, my parents live out in Florida. They live in Kissimmee.
All right.
We've got a family home out there. So we've got a little boy, and we thought, this Christmas we'll go visit him, go take him to Disney World for Christmas and everything. So that's going to coincide nicely with hopefully some shop visits and do some little signings. And I guess if people can't make it to those, I guess scouts in Florida, I can just sign some books for them, and maybe they can organize it if people are interested.
That does sound like a plan. So you know what I'm going to try to do is maybe I'm going to try to get on some Star Bastard covers, and then maybe I'll come down to Florida at the same time you are, and we can have a dual signing.
Because you're next door, right?
I'm in Atlanta, so it's not next door, but it's a healthy 2-hour flight or 1 hour flight maybe, or an 8-hour drive.
I forget how big America is. I just, it sounds like it's next door. It's like an hour's drive away.
No, sir.
But yeah,
for me to get to Orlando is like 10 hours drive.
Wow.
But it's about an hour flight for me to get from here to Daytona.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I suppose I drove to Miami for that convention, and it took about 3.5 hours from Orlando. So, yeah. But I think the rest of us just forget how big America is.
I do think that it would be really awesome for us to try to put the, we'll talk to the scout guys and see if we can't get some dual signing going around Christmas time down there, and see if I can't get some covers done. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've mentioned some of the ideas I've always wanted to do for variants and stuff. So see what we can get done, and see what's doable signing wise. Now, where did the true inspiration? I don't want to deviate, so please don't be mad at me for not talking about Bete Noir so much. But I don't know enough about it to sit here and pick your brain about it. But I do like the Star Bastard, and I've read. I think I've read the first 4 issues of Star Bastard.
4 is out now. Yeah, like I just got sent 4. It was in Midtown Comics, so that was fun.
Yeah, and you haven't.
It came out a couple of weeks ago.
You haven't sent me the other one, so I don't know what's going on. But
5, I'm literally just prepping now, so that'll be going off to print.
Right on. But so I really like the character. I want to know more about what the inspiration was behind Star Bastard, and like it. It kind of feels Guardians. It kind of feels Star Warsy, but with a Spaceballs type twist, like sense of humor to it. So I want to know what major factors helped you create this IP.
So you just ticked a lot of the boxes there. It's like I say, I was doing a big complicated thing, and I wanted to just blow out some cobwebs. So I wrote this nonsense thing about a stereotypical Captain Kirk, or Star-Lord arsehole captain that's just shagging his way around the galaxy and drinking and pissing everyone off. Very Lobo. Like that's the same as you. That's one of my favorite books from when I was younger. So there's a healthy dose of Lobo in there. He's a sort of invulnerable space captain, mercenary that's just drinks and fights in every situation. So it was literally, I wrote the first issue in no time at all, and then there was edits to make it good after that. But it's just supposed to be just fun. Like every issue, there's no complications. You could pick up every issue and read it, because there's no overarching subplot or anything.
Okay.
But it's very his character is kind of based on, like, have you ever seen Eastbound and Down?
I have. I'm a big fan of
McBride.
Kenny fucking Powers.
Yeah, so Kenny Powers. Yes, it's very much like him, like a guy that thinks he's cooler than he is, and
he's a little out of touch.
Just uses bravado. Yeah, just thinks he's going to solve every situation with his own bravado, but other people have to step in and help him out. So it's just a sort of a goofy comedy book that's set in this big sort of cosmic environment. But
now there's a female compatriot on the ship. It almost seems like there's almost like a love-hate relationship between Star Bastard and her.
Yeah, so he's just really, she's kind of the hero of the book. Like every time there's a problem, she's the one that's solving it, having to pick up the pieces, having to clean up after him, or keep her head on straight.
As you say that,
most of us.
I feel very much like the Inspector Gadget cartoon. Like it was always Penny in the Brain who always had to clean up after Inspector Gadget, where he always looked like he was the one that knew what he was doing.
Yeah, he just bowls in, does everything wrong, and then someone has to sort of eye roll, step in, and actually do the job afterwards. And it's 10 times harder because he's already ballsed it up. So it's very much he's I'm sure people like him as a character, but Molly, the female lead, she's my favorite character. She's harder than him. She can handle herself better in a fight. He just happens to be lucky enough to be invulnerable and not have to worry, and that's why he's such an arsehole to everyone.
Yeah, when there's no consequences.
Yeah.
People get, it's much like the celebrities, that are born into money. I'm going to go off and do Paris Hilton shit because so what? I don't, there's no consequences.
Yeah. So he's just, whatever I do, it doesn't matter. I can just, speak to this guy in this way. I can fight this guy, do whatever I want, steal an emperor's daughter and, run off with her into the sunset. He's doing that because there's no consequences, because he's like, well, no one's going to be able to hurt me. What are you going to do about it? But he's got these poor other guys in his spaceship that are having to clean everything up.
So are there any plans for you to come back to the States, or what's keeping you in Dubai?
So, yeah, I mean, I'm from the UK, so I guess if I was to leave here, we'd go back to the UK, but God knows what's happening there at the minute. But I'm a director of photography, so I shoot, it's a fancy name, for cameraman. So I just shoot TV content, things like that here.
Let's not discount the title of the director of photography, okay? I've been on a number of sets where the guy that knows the most shit about what's going on is the director of photography.
Yeah, that's right. That's how it is. But
that guy is a baller.
When you bump into people in a pub, in a bar or something, or at a barbecue, and what do you do? I work at a bank, I work at a real estate agent. What do you do? I'm a DP. And their eyes glaze over. And you have to explain, I'm a cameraman. I shoot stuff,
Yeah, and
so that's what I do.
That's such a downgraded way to say it, I'm a cameraman, because when I've been fortunate enough to be on some pretty high profile movie sets and television sets, and the DP is the guy that knows the name of every piece of equipment, from all the different 7 million lighting stands to all the different lenses to all the rigs dude, that guy knows more than the director about how to make the shit actually work.
Yeah.
And that is,
I mean, I'm not doing feature DP work, I'm doing commercials and corporate stuff, but it's the same argument, you have to know how everything works.
It is crazy respect for that DP position, man. In my opinion, DPs kill it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun job, but long days and stressful days. But you get to look at the product at the end and have something to be proud of. And I think that's where a lot of I write from a visual perspective. A lot of it's pacing, and a lot of the jokes are. They rely on correct pacing. So I think a lot of that comes from coming from a TV background.
So why are we not seeing a Star Bastard short film?
Oh, because can you imagine how much effort that would take to organize spaceships and explosions and things like that?
You create a short film, I said, sir, a short film.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just do it all in cockpit. You just create one set of the inside of a ship and then have it just be dialogue funny, or,
just have one big bar fight.
Or that. Yeah. Much like have you seen the Lobo Christmas special thing, or on
paramilitary Christmas special?
Yeah. And I think that took place mostly in like 2 or 3 sets.
Yeah. There are some great low budget things. There was, what was the name? Years ago, there was that Batman short film.
Yes.
Batman Dead End.
Yes.
I think it was called. The one with like Joker and aliens and predators.
Exactly. And that took place like at a storage locker place, it looked like.
Yeah. And that blew my mind. I think that must be 20 years ago that came out.
I don't think it's that long, is it? I'm old as shit.
I think it was like just as YouTube was like coming in. So it must be like maybe like 16, 17 years, I guess.
But I'm saying it can be done. I just don't know if you have enough friends out there that are willing to sacrifice, because that's usually the hard part, is getting your friends on board to be unpaid help.
I think it would be, it's not necessarily the technical crew and stuff. Like, all of that could be done. It's getting the actors and getting the right people, to pull it off. And I wouldn't want to be in a position where someone's interested and then they see some crap that I've done and they go, "Oh, is that what it looks like live action?" No, I'm not interested. So I'll leave it to the real experts. We we're talking to people, but
now you did say that Kenny Powers was a big inspiration for this character, Star Bastard. Do you have any, 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon between you and Danny McBride?
No. So I wouldn't know at all. Weirdly enough, when there was a big inspiration from that program in how it was written and the character and everything. But when I was sending, character descriptions to Jethro, the artist, for when he was doing the designs,
mm-hmm.
I sent him, I'm going to say his name wrong, so I apologize ahead of time. But Joe Manganiello, I think his name is.
Manganiello,
he was in True Blood. He's he's married to
Sofia Vergara.
Family, that chap. That's it. And he's Deathstroke, that guy.
For 2 seconds.
But if you compare the two, look at a picture of him and Greaves, you can tell he was based on him. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought it would just be funnier if you had Danny McBride playing this character. He doesn't have to be a big muscle-bound guy. It would be funnier as just an average guy with that bravado and that attitude and stuff. So that would be my fan casting if I could ever get him to.
As you say that, I'm sitting here thinking in my head, dude, what if David Spade played that character? That'd be hilarious.
That could work. I mean, David Spade would be good as Max, the little.
Oh yeah,
but sort of
just a little
angry,
a little cocky alcoholic. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Well, we just go the whole hog and just have all of Adam Sandler's cronies.
Oh, okay. So we'll make it a Happy Madison production.
Exactly. We have Adam Sandler as Greaves.
Oh, no. We'd have Dante. We'd have Dante as Greaves.
Okay.
Dante would be Greaves. That'd be hilarious.
What's the You Can Do It?
Snyder? Rob Snyder?
He could be in there somewhere as well.
He could be like the voice of the cat.
He could be, just something pointless. Where he says one word.
Dude, yeah. This would be a great Happy Madison production. This would be way better than Pixels.
Well, there you go. He's got all those Netflix contracts. Just slide this one onto his desk.
Yeah, and he's got the connections.
Yeah.
I mean, he had Peter Dinklage in his stuff. Come on, man.
Oh, yeah. He could be in it as well.
Well, and then the voice of the dinosaur, I forget the dinosaur guy, the bad guy's name.
He's just called Gra.
Gra could be voiced by Kevin James.
Yeah. Paul Blart, Space Mercenary.
All right. So what's the name on the Kickstarter again, so we can make sure that everybody gets to it? Because right now we are entering the part of the podcast where it's called the final push. So I want to make sure that we get your website out there, their website, anywhere you want someone to go visit. What are they?
So let's see. The Kickstarter, if you search for, it's called Bete Noir. It's BETENOIR.
All right.
I believe you can go to madrobotcomics.com/Bete Noir, and it should link to the Kickstarter.
Okay.
But if not, you could find me on social media, and I've just plastered it with links to the campaign. So my Twitter is just Andrew Clemson, and my Instagram is ClemsonDXB.
All right.
There's just links to it constantly. So anyone that's interested, we've got 8 days to go. We're 89% funded, and it's £350, give or take, short of goal, which we should be able to do. But in dollars, that means we are $430 away.
All right.
So fingers crossed for the next week.
So if I also follow those social media accounts after the Bete Noir thing is gone, it's still worth me to follow your social media to keep up with what you're doing, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep up. I mean, I use Twitter for the comic stuff because that seems to be quite popular for sort of comic promotion. If you can avoid all the cesspool stuff that goes on there, but that anything I do will be posted on there. Instagram I do, a bit more sporadically, but I post stuff on there. I separated it from the account where I post pictures of my cats and dogs, so it's just comic stuff now. All
right. Well, for me, for my final push, I will be at Dragon Con during Labor Day weekend here in Atlanta. And I will actually be, Richard Rivera from Stabby Bunny will also be there.
Oh, nice.
I'm actually talking with, I'm trying to get Scout and Dragon Con for next year so that Scout can have a setup at Dragon Con. That'll be pretty fun.
Do they not normally do that convention? Is that quite a big one?
I don't think that Scout has had a contact, like a person to talk to at Dragon Con. And so when I brought it up with the Dragon Con contact who's in charge of Artist Alley, he was like, sure, man, give him my information. I'd love to do some stuff like that where they showcase some smaller publishing companies and stuff like that. So I told James at Scout about it, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna talk more. So hopefully not this year.
You guys are so lucky to have all of those conventions. I know I say at your doorstep, but like you can get to them.
Yeah.
You know, there's a bunch that you can go and do. Like I do 2 a year if I'm lucky.
Yeah, and I just did one like last weekend, and then here it is, Labor Day. I'll be doing another ginormous convention. But please don't look at me as your measuring tool, because I make very little money at these shows. So it's not like you're missing out.
Yeah, but that's everyone. It's marketing, isn't it? Really, as long as you're not breaking the bank being there.
No,
you're there to meet people and you know, have people learn who you are and know your face and your name and stuff.
Yeah, a win is to break even on expenses. You know what I mean? Like that's considered a win for me anyway at my level.
I mean, that doesn't always happen either.
Oh,
like, I'm happy.
No, it does not.
If I sell 10, 15 books a day at a convention, I'm happy.
Oh wow!
And usually, we go over that, but that doesn't necessarily cover any.
Well, then you're more ballerific than I am, sir, because I think this past weekend, this was a 3-day convention. I think I moved maybe 9 or 10 books altogether through the whole weekend.
Yeah, I guess it's just that's more. I do more now since the Scout thing. Like I went to MCM in London, and I had people come up, and I'd be like, "Okay, cool. So we have this. Would you like to buy it?" And they're like, "Oh no, I already bought that at my comic shop."
Well, also I think another thing that could be cool
sales.
is the MCC in London, and the fact that you do 2 conventions a year. There's not a lot of conventions, so when there's one around, everybody and their brother comes out of the woodwork to go to those shows and make sure that they buy everything they can. Whereas here, there's a show every second week, and they don't know where to put their money. And they're like, oh, I went to a show last time. I don't need to go to this one, and stuff like that. So oversaturation here, undersaturation there.
Yeah, or if they are a fan of your stuff, if you've got an established thing, they've already bought your stuff, the month before. So even if you've got those fans and you've seen them already, you're not guaranteed extra sales.
Yeah.
But still cool. I'd love to be able to go to more.
Well, hopefully one day. I'm saying this Christmas we're going to hook up and we're going to do some things down in Florida. But thank you for coming on the show. The grandson has begun to cry, so I want to cut this off before it gets too unbearable.
Yeah.
But so we're
gonna
check out Bete Noir, and we're gonna check out Star Bastard, and we're gonna follow Andrew Clemson. You got it, everybody? Yeah, I thought you did.
It was a resounding yes.
I heard him. I heard my 20 listeners putting their thumbs up. That's what I heard.
That's
whoosh.
20 listers, man. That's 20 potential customers.
That is very true. And hopefully they'll all back at least, $20, $10 a piece. There's $200 made up for the Kickstarter right there. You know what I mean?
I'll be honest with you, 20 people, if 5 of them do the digital at 3, that's 5 backers. That pushes it up a little bit. It's all useful. Like, never undersell one backer on Kickstarter.
Oh, by no means. But thank you, Andrew. I look forward to talking to you more about some of this Star Bastard stuff I want to do. And I wish you all the best, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. And for all you guys, thank you for listening. Please support independent creators. Please support people doing cool shit. And as always, stay creative.
It's almost time.